Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Garibaldi Red, a Nottingham Forest podcast. I'm Max Sage, your host, and as Forest lose 3-0 away at the Emirates, we'll discuss the performance, the team selection beforehand with no Morgan Gibbs-White and Elliot Anderson featuring yesterday, and much, much more as Forest are maybe given another reality check after the talk about Europe just a couple of weeks ago. Joined, first of all, by Sarah Brown. Sarah, good to see you. We were just saying before we came on, you were on about Waitrose. You've spent your day in Waitrose, so there you go.
Not quite the whole day, but
you have recovered from the poor performance and defeat by spending a day in Waitrose, right?
Yeah, treating myself to something nice and some wine.
Very nice, very nice. Dave, have you been in Waitrose, mate, today?
Yes, I have, Matt.
And it's the same one.
Yeah, the same one, actually. Yeah, although we weren't there at the same time, me and Sarah. I can heartily recommend their lemon thin biscuits, but don't tell my mother, because my mother always said I should have gone to Lidl and Asda. She was, too expensive in Waitrose. You know what I mean? So, yeah, Waitrose, me and Sarah probably needing it. I've had some Waitrose retail therapy to help us get over yesterday.
Yeah, and do you know what? I went shopping today. It seems like we've all gone shopping, although I did go to Aldi, so, I went to the more cheaper option as a sense.
My man would have loved you more than me for that, Max. I'm telling you, mate.
Yep. Right. Let us crack on, shall we? Before this turns into the Supermarket Red podcast, and let's start really with the performance. We were all there, weren't we? And it was a pretty. I don't know. I think from minute one, maybe when the team selection, team news was announced, you never felt like maybe Forest were going to get going, and you had the lucky start maybe with VAR, and that was on our side, and then it really, Forest's performance just wasn't great, particularly in the first half as well. Sarah, what did you make of it? Just as before we talk about key performances and the team selection, what did you make of it as a whole? Because just thought it was pretty typical kind of Forest maybe performance, and it gave me a little bit of a reminder of last season. I hate to say that.
Yeah, I think that's what I thought, and I think quite soon after the whistle, when I thought, well, it's not going to be our day today. Arsenal were much quicker on the ball. They were all playing at 100%. Saka looked really sharp, Odegaard. We just didn't look on it at all. We were losing the ball, and we tried to create stuff, and we were losing the ball. It was a bit like last year, like you said, away. We just didn't have any creativity in the midfield. But obviously, I bang on about Morgan Gibbs-White when he's not playing. We just don't always look. I know Anderson is a good replacement, but he wasn't there either. But without Morgan Gibbs-White, I think, we were a bit flat, I'm afraid, yesterday.
Yeah, definitely. Dave, were you shocked to see that team selection when you were in kind of the concourse at the Emirates? Was it a surprise? Obviously, Chris Wood as well on the bench. He's done a lot of travelling. It hasn't helped with the international break, but I don't think we thought Morgan and Elliot Anderson would both be missing, did we?
No, mate. It was. It struck me slightly eccentric, but then Nuno has made some eccentric team selections in the past, and we've all been proved wrong. Fortunately, yesterday it didn't work. I did think as well, though, that Arteta's team selection was relatively eccentric to leave Partey out and Havertz out. There were some lads in there, particularly I thought Trossard and Gabriel Jesus, who the Arsenal fans have no regard for whatsoever, and he picked them. So I reckon a lot of Arsenal supporters would have looked at their line and thought, well, why has he picked them? I think with ours, a suspicion I've had for a while that Elliot and Morgan are being managed because neither of them are yet or fit enough to do a full 90 minutes. Kind of came out in the selection. In Woody's case, I was a little bit surprised that Chris wasn't playing because, he's done, multiple thousands of miles to New Zealand and Southeast Asia and back, and it didn't seem to affect him. But maybe this time, we don't know what goes on within the house, inside the four walls. We can make guesses and assumptions, but we don't know. We're not privy to that information. That's within the inner sanctum of Nottingham Forest. And that's for Nuno and his staff, who we've all grown to trust. Or, yesterday doesn't affect my trust of Nuno and his staff. They will look at it. They'll look at all the angles with the medical team and say, well, Nuno then has to make a decision. Maybe thought Chris is jaded. what I would say is Ramon Sousa was the last one back in the building, from what I gathered, and he got on before Woody. So yeah, there's little things, but the truth of the matter of yesterday is that the normal order was restored. A title contender, and that's what they are, put a mid to lower table team in their place. And I kind of looked at it. I was quite dispassionate the whole game. I just watched it go past. In terms of the performance, there wasn't one.
Mm.
And what struck me, Max, and I'm Sarah will back me up on this, I'm sure. You had a team that were desperate. There was the one team yesterday that was a must-win game for Arsenal. If we had won there yesterday, and it would have been a massive shock to me if we'd have won there, because they are levels above us, like Newcastle are, right? It would have shocked me. But if we'd have won there yesterday or got a draw, the back pages today, and then for the rest of the week, and Sky Sports rolling news and talks would have been dominated by the words of Arsenal and Arteta, because he would have, the heat under his backside on that seat would have got worse and worse and worse. So I just got a sense that Arteta's desperation went into his team. And what I didn't want to see, from our point of view, I didn't want to see Arsenal have an impetus from the get-go, right? Mm. And once that, to be honest, once Timber's goal had been disallowed, you kind of felt there was a bow wave of more of it coming. And really, Arsenal, to be honest, the only thing I would have said in our defence at half-time was that Arsenal should have been away and out of sight. They were by far the better team the first half. They were by far the better team for the whole 90 plus 5 minutes or whatever it was. And I just think, that they are reality checks. But what they're doing, they're kind of putting into context just how much we've developed and overachieved and come on from the last 2 seasons to be kind of getting upset. Well, I wasn't, because I just kind of thought, yeah, they're better than us. I kind of went there thinking they're better than us. 2 weeks ago, I thought Newcastle are better than us. That's fair enough. Both of these teams have got players who would walk. Odegaard and Saka are going to walk in our team. You know what I mean? Saliba and Gabriel have proven, Raya's a good goal. They're a better team than us. So I would have been very, very shocked. But it was just, there were going to be days like this. Like yesterday. But the one thing that did irritate me a little bit, I would have liked to see more personality. I would have liked to see more, in their faces. There wasn't even that much of that from Ryan yesterday.
Showed them too much respect, I think, Dave, maybe.
I don't know if it's... I thought it was Arsenal's best game, though, this season.
Say again, up.
It's the best game they've played this season, I think.
Oh, by a long, Sarah. By a long way, Sarah. That's absolutely true. I mean, they've been a deep disappointment.
Yeah, and I don't think I don't think many people would have beaten them yesterday. Many teams would have beaten them. What I saw yesterday, they were just on it.
I think sometimes, people seem to cast around looking for scapegoats and blame and all this kind of stuff. This person didn't do that, and this did. Unfortunately, Martin Odegaard, who was head and shoulders the best player on the field, did things to make Forest not be good. Bukayo Saka the same. Ethan Nwaneri, when he came on, I mean, it just showed the gulf between the two teams. What you got there is you got a team that is a genuine title contender. We were having a bit of a dip. And the other team, a work in progress going in the right direction, who just accounted upon a stumble yesterday. I mean, I've always felt with our season that people are getting too carried away. I mean, 2 or 3 weeks ago, after we'd beaten West Ham, there was talk of, we're going to do a Leicester. Don't be stupid. We're going to be in the Champions League. Yeah, what drugs are you taking, mate? And we're going to be in Europe. I personally think that we are, at the moment, I'd like us to be in that middle echelon. That's where we should be aiming. The Fulham, Brentford, Palace of years gone, that echelon, right? Because that is indicative of incredible progress from the last 2 seasons. So, the levelling off is taking place. It may get. I mean, our fixtures coming up are not easy, so it might go on a bit longer. But it certainly isn't the end of the world. And there's I've heard. I mean, I don't use Twitter or any of that. I can't be bothered with it. Right? I'm not giving money to Elon Musk. But there's been meltdowns and stuff. I mean, what? So we should be beating Arsenal at the Emirates? No.
I walked away last night and just thought, yeah, we just got beaten. And then Man City lost 4-0 to Tottenham. And I thought, I'd be more gutted if I was Man City than I am being a Forest fan.
Exactly.
And that made me feel better, because I didn't really feel that upset about losing yesterday, because they were on it. There's all the talk about Edu coming to Marinakis's clubs, and he didn't want us to beat them yesterday. He made sure of it, and I did wonder with the team selection whether he was protecting those players for Saturday at home. I might be completely wrong, but I did kind of think, is he just protecting Ward? Is he protecting Morgan Gibbs-White and Anderson? Who knows? And I know they say they don't look at the next game, but at home to Ipswich, and they are a good side. I know
they are.
They are a good side, and we've got to be on our game for next week. And I did wonder whether that was maybe a little bit of something, but you probably tell me I'm wrong.
Well, I had that, Sarah. I had that sense as well. I looked at it and I thought, especially with Morgan and Elliot, I kind of thought he's just war lads. Let's just hold our horses, because the run that's coming up. I mean, Ipswich is going to be. I mean, Ipswich coming next week.
Well, we're in it, aren't we?
Yeah. They're going to come next week, and we are their free hit, because we'll be massive favourites at City Ground next week, and then the games that come after that: City, United, and Villa. I mean, I'm personally looking at Villa, thinking we can win that, but the other two away from home in Manchester, I think it's the worst time to play City after what happened yesterday, because somebody will get it, and it might be us at the Etihad. You know what I mean? So
we're used to that, aren't we?
Yeah, but we've got to kind of just keep it in context and in perspective. We're having a cracking good season. I thought to myself, on the coach coming back, it's pretty somber and quiet, understandably, because we love our lads and we want
a bit like the away end. I thought yesterday, Dave. I thought it was.
I thought the atmosphere was poor. Yeah, I thought it was the worst away sort of atmosphere since Brighton at the end of last season, when we lost 1-0, where we were awful there that day. I thought back in March, but it was just, I kind of thought about it, and like, if somebody said to me on November the 30th, you'd be 7th in the Premier League, I would have thought they were mental. It's incredible. I mean, it's 5 wins, 4 draws, 3 defeats. We're only 11 points short of the paltry total we got last year in 38. We've got like another 26 games to play. So there are going to be ups and downs. It's called the vicissitudes of life. And the world doesn't roll along like a song every day, does it? You know what I mean? And unfortunately, yesterday was just one of those where you have to take it on the chin and get on to the next game. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Absolutely. Just playing devil's advocate here, Sarah, and not that I think this is the case, but, Nuno talked in his post-match interview that it almost wasn't a time to panic. However, conceding 6 goals in the last 2 games is a little bit concerning, especially given we were kind of hyping up Forest's defensive record at the start of the season. Is that a concern in your opinion? Do you think, I suppose it is really, conceding 6 in the last 2. I mean, it isn't great, is it?
No, it's not great. And I thought we were frail at the back yesterday, but I don't think the midfield protected them at all. But I'm not going to take too much from yesterday, because they're a great team. I did think second half, though, when Partey was on the ball, he had chance to queue it up and where am I going to put it? It just seemed like there was a bit of a delay. Nobody seemed to close him down. But great players. And again, Newcastle conceding those 3 goals in the second half. Again, a good side. But yeah, probably a little bit of concerns, but I'd like to see that we're a bit more staunch next Saturday, and then probably make more of a decision or an opinion next week.
Yeah, absolutely. And Dave, when you look at that back 4 actually yesterday, you think that Murillo and Milenkovic probably stopped it being another 2 or 3. And actually, I thought had quite solid performances, particularly in the first half. I thought both fullbacks yesterday, and this isn't any criticism towards them as players, but more maybe the style of play yesterday and the way we set up in terms of, you just mentioned the midfield being overrun, but there was no link that we saw in previous games between, I thought, the fullbacks and Anthony Elanga when he was on the pitch, even Jota Silva and Callum Hudson-Odoi. I just thought both Olorena and Alex Moreno struggled at times. Would you agree yesterday?
Yeah, I thought at half time it was Matt Sells, Nikola Milenkovic and Murillo keeping us in the game. The others, Taiwo flickered a little bit and offered, but the others were pretty anonymous, to be honest with you. So I thought those three were keeping us in it. I mean, you've got to give credit to Arsenal. Arsenal worked Forest out. And it's all well and good saying Forest didn't do this. They weren't allowed to do it by a better team. And good players, world-class players, like, Saka, Odegaard, these people, they make time and space to play. And that's why they're at bigger clubs. Martin Odegaard, I thought if you love football and the game and you put partisan club loyalties aside, he was wonderful to watch. He had all his touch was beautiful. He knew exactly where he was going to play the ball. I thought he was a joy to watch. Bukayo Saka as well. I thought Marino had a good game for them. Mikel Marino, he sort of, their blend. Sometimes when a team is deprived of certain assets, it becomes simpler. So Arsenal were without Declan Rice. They didn't have Kai Havertz. Thomas Partey didn't start. And it was almost like, they right, we know what we're doing. And this is, we've a structure. It reminded me, like with England, there was all this talk about England. England had so many absentees. And I thought England were better for all those absentees. Jude Bellingham loved the fact that he didn't have Phil Foden getting under his feet. And they could just go and play. Sometimes a side that's missing people plays better. And I just thought that the only thing that did irritate me, I would have liked to see more of Ryan as a captain yesterday. I don't think it was one of Ryan's greatest games. James Ward-Prowse still seems to be trying to find his way. It's not. He took some good free kicks, but we want more from James in open play. Nicholas Domingos, who I've been banging the drum about recently, was again pretty anonymous. The wingers, Anthony Elanga, there was no end product. Callum had a very poor first half, but was better second half. I don't know what the reason for that was. Taiwo tried hard, but he got no service. He was feeding off scraps. And it just, I came out thinking, Arsenal have reasserted their predominance because that's where they are. Nobody's ever saying that, Nottingham Forest is going to challenge Liverpool and Manchester City for the title, but they are saying that about Arsenal. I think it was just almost like normal service being resumed, but it doesn't mean, the thing is, Arsenal's issues aren't completely cured by yesterday, and Forest's upward momentum isn't completely wiped out by yesterday. We might go to this game against Ipswich next week, win comfortably, and then everything's tickety-boo again. I mean, you look at Tottenham, they lose to Ipswich, and the whole fan base is thinking the world is about to end. This is it, the end of the world. A week later, they go to the champions and murder them, destroy them. So, it's football. It goes up and down. And I do think from the moment it started being a bit of a theme and a trope about our defensive strength, as soon as you get that being a thing, start conceding. Nuno's manager of the month. He hasn't won one since. Woody was player of the month. He hasn't scored since.
This is real.
Honestly, these things, I don't know, I'm probably just shooting the breeze, but, I think sometimes what I'd like with Forest is to be back under the radar and to be written off a little bit, because we've earned a lot of praise and that's good. But by the same token, it'd be nice to be unheralded a bit. That's what I think.
Absolutely. We'll get on to the midfield and that being overrun, and obviously the importance of Morgan and Anderson, and we'll talk about that shortly. But just reading out a few comments as we are live. Andy says, we were poor, just like we were against Newcastle. It's time to drop Elanga. I personally would have liked him to have been sold to Newcastle when the offer came in. Allows Jota to develop. This one, agree about Elanga, no real end product. Jota was much better in the second half. Sarah, I think Anthony Elanga, and we've talked about this on the podcast before, I think he has got a bit of a point to prove now. I don't think he's had the best start to the season. And I don't think it's time to press the panic button and talk about selling him in January. But I think maybe it's time for Jota to be given a start. I was crying out for it the other week, actually, when we were on this podcast with Mark. And we talked about almost maybe sometimes the importance of rotating players because the players don't get too complacent. And I also think Jota, when he came on, looked more of a threat. And he didn't have his best game, but nobody did yesterday. Would you be tempted to start Jota next game? And almost what do you make to Elanga's poor start to the season?
Yeah, I think he's still quite young, isn't he, Elanga? And I know he did really well last year, and he's not been so involved in the goals. whether I'd drop him, probably. Jota did look better when he came on than Elanga. And obviously he had the ball in the net, but it was offside. But we had a bit more. We just looked, even though he hasn't got more pace, I don't think he's faster than Elanga. We just looked like we'd got more urgency in the team. So, I mean, I'm not going to say. I mean, that's for Nuno to decide whether we drop him or not. But I certainly think it's probably time to give Jota a chance. I was quite surprised of the lineup, obviously, because there was talk that it might line up a bit like away at Liverpool and then bring on the pace later on. But obviously, we started with that. But again, he was probably forced his hand a bit with Morgan and Anderson. So, maybe he just needs a bit of. Maybe he's not 100% fit, and a player like that needs to be 100% fit because he relies on his pace and he's quick thinking. I mean, I can't remember. I'm sure you'll tell me who slipped the ball into him, and it was just too far ahead of him, and Raya got to it before him, but. I thought that was probably one of our better chances. And it went to Elanga, and we probably were all thinking at the time, if it had gone to somebody else. But yeah, I mean, I don't like hanging any of the players out to dry, and I didn't think particularly yesterday Elanga was any worse than, I mean, they were talking about Marino on social media as well, and he's probably had a couple of games that haven't been his best, but. We can't expect them all to be 110. They've been given 110%. I mean, let's be honest. If you can, that's what they've been doing. And they've been coming out and playing really well. And yesterday, I just thought, I don't know. It just, the fight didn't look like it was there for me yesterday. But I don't know whether that was just because Arsenal were that good.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, I'm probably going to be a bit in the middle of the road here with Elanga.
And Dave, because when you look at Anthony Elanga and Callum Hudson-Odoi, two players that Forest massively rely on, the same way that with Gibbs White and even Anderson maybe and Murillo, thrown into that mix. So when they're not on their A game, you notice it much more likely than maybe other players because, for example, the likes of Hudson-Odoi or Elanga would make up for other players' mistakes in the past, whereas when they're not having their best game, you can tell much more. And I just feel like Forest. I thought the basics we struggled with, allowing Saka so much time on the ball, giving too much respect there. But I also think there was whenever we got the ball, I felt like there was no attacking outlet. I don't really know about you, but the midfield, we talk about that in transition. Well, there was none of that. I thought it was quite a defensive midfield. It was quite compact, which I don't think often works if you've got the likes of Hudson-Odoi and Elanga that want to get quickly on the ball with their pace. And we just weren't able to almost use what Forest have used in the whole season and last season as well.
Yeah, nobody played well yesterday. None of them. Not one of them. Matt Sells made some good saves. I thought Sells' save low down from Bukayo Saka was fantastic.
Yeah, I agree.
And Selzy, unfortunately, Selzy was the most noticeable because he was the busiest. But I thought none of the others played well. I mean, in terms of Anthony and Callum, they're mercurial players. They have going days and they have non-going days. Being of a certain vintage, Max, when I watch Anthony Elanga on half reminded of Franz Carr.
You're the second person this weekend that said that.
Yeah, Franz Carr, on his day, unplayable. Other days, nothing. End product was everything with Franz. He had the pace, he had the skill, but could he get a ball over? Could he get a crossover? And Anthony's the same. I mean, all I would say is, personally, I'm of a view that if I'm Jota Silva, I'm banging on Gaffer. I think it's time. Little man makes stuff happen every time he comes on. He has personality. Whether he wants it or not, he just brings personality with him. It's almost like he's got to, Jota, get rid of that personality. I can't. It's just me. From the Portugal Grealish hair to the socks down, he looks a guy about his business. He was a fan favourite after one Carabao Cup game against Newcastle. Just thought, this guy's got something about him. He was on. Okay, the goal at the end was disallowed, but who was there? Johnny on the spot in the box. And I think if it was me, I'd be just saying to Anthony, well, just get you out of the spotlight. You can have a break a minute. We'll bring you on as an impact player, and we'll let little man start. I mean, with Anthony, what you have to remember, he produced probably the ball of the season at Anfield to find Callum for the goal. we could all, are we all that short in our memories that we can't remember him producing that piece of football? So again, nobody's entirely awful. Nobody's entirely brilliant. Unfortunately, we as a species, football fans, veer wildly between everything's incredible and everything's appalling. And it's the truth of the matter is that it somewhat lies between the two. But I do think that Jota Silva, the question is, can you from the start replicate what you do as an impact player? Maybe, in terms of Jota and Anthony, they're guys who are just better suited to coming off the bench. I mean, of the two wingers at the moment, I trust Callum more than I trust Anthony. And I thought Callum was utterly anonymous first half, which is not like him. But I thought Callum got himself in the game second half. He saw more of the ball. He demanded more of it. He wasn't great. He had a bang average game like they all did, but at least he was more visible. But I just think, Jota Silva, against Ipswich, I'll be starting him because the personality will be needed against Ipswich because they'll bring some. They'll be bringing Smodics, Delap, Amari Hutchinson. I've been watching them this afternoon, and they're no mugs. They're far better than Southampton and Leicester, in my view. And I'd be starting Jota Silva next week. I think he's got a goal in him as well. Little fella. So it's but it's thankfully I don't have to make the decision. Uncle Nuno has to do that.
Yeah, I'm sure he listens to Dave Astbury a lot about his ready for his tactical.
Max.
and we do need to find some goals, don't we, from somewhere?
Yeah,
we need goals from somebody other than Woody, Sarah.
Yeah, we do.
Do you think that's a concern, Sarah, in a way? I know we've had this brilliant start to the season, but maybe it's been overlooked and maybe it's just gone kind of under the radar. No one's talked about it. But the fact is, without Chris Ward, can you name a player on the score sheet, on the team sheet that might score? I don't know. Yesterday, I probably couldn't have given you that much faith in particularly in Taiwo, but also in Elanga, Hudson-Odoi. I'd probably say Hudson-Odoi was probably the most likely yesterday on that team sheet to score.
Yeah.
They just couldn't get anything. They couldn't get past their central defenders. I mean, they're huge units as well, aren't they? And they were just everywhere. And they kind of went in swaves, didn't they? Like, we got it on the left and they were over there and then over on the right. And we didn't really look like scoring, did we, at all, or game? Or that's the impression I got. And what you worry about is that, we've been riding high on the crest of a wave and then a couple of games we've lost and then you just need to shake that off because you don't want to get into a run of losing, do you? And we do need to find some. I'm not bothered if it's Wood next week that scores two, to be fair, and I'm hoping if that's the case, but I still would like to see Elanga. I mean, like you say, Jota looks like he's definitely got a goal. Every time he comes on he looks like that, and Sosa as well. He had a look move, didn't he? He did lose the ball eventually, but he kind of knocked it over the Arsenal player and then picked it up the other side of him. And I thought, wow, and when he nearly scored the last kick of the game against Newcastle, I mean, that would have been one hell of a goal. And again, Leicester when he made that move. So, if we're talking about Jota, maybe, why not Sosa as well? I know he arrived late from the international and maybe that was one of the reasons, but but we were talking amongst ourselves like, you've got three players out yesterday and that's a third of your out players, isn't it, that aren't playing, that you've been relying on. And we have still got Sangare. I don't know what he's not had a run in the team, and Danilo out. So, then you suddenly saying you've got five out players, not, obviously Wood came on, but he only came on for 10 minutes. So, but it is a worry when you're not scoring goals. Because if you're scoring goals, if you go 1-0 down, then you've got a chance of getting back in the game. But yesterday, I didn't think that was the case at all. What
did you make to Taiwo, Dave? I thought that he looked better. I thought if we're being, I'm trying to give him a bit of a grade. I'd probably maybe say he's improved. He's almost slightly getting better, but I still struggle at times just to see what he offers. And I just think, yesterday it was a game for him to really get involved and to hold it up and to use his strength. And he just didn't do much. And maybe we can argue it with the service, but maybe he's then got to drop deep. I just find him I just find Taiwo very frustrating to watch at the minute. I don't know what you think.
He's as frustrated as we are.
Yeah.
He's a good lad. He's a lovely lad. He tries damned hard. He's had no luck with injuries. It's been stop-start. His game yesterday was stop-start. His career at Forest, after that sort of golden period at the end of the season where, you know, he kept us up, the goal against Arsenal and other goals that he scored, it's been stop-start. And he's probably one of the, after Ibrahim Sangare, he's probably the unluckiest guy in our squad because he's just never got a real good run at it. I can't, if you're judging him on yesterday, then you have to judge the others as well because they didn't give him any chance. He was feeding off scraps. And he's up against Saliba and Gabriel, who are elite in this division, elite in an elite division. You know what I mean? He might find it easy next week if it's, say, I don't know, Burgess or Jacob Greaves or Ipswich. He might find it easier. You know, Saliba and Gabriel have dealt with, no disrespect to Taiwo, centre forwards and strikers better than him comfortably. I mean, a couple of weeks ago, I watched Arsenal play Liverpool, and first half against Liverpool, they were outstanding, and they're up against the likes of Nunez, you know, Diaz, and Mo. You know what I mean? And it's like I can't really judge Taiwo on yesterday, you know, because he never saw any of the ball. None of them played. My view of yesterday is it was poor performance, brought on by playing a team that is better than them and will probably remain better than them. You know, it's pie in the sky to think we're on a par with them. And it just, you stand as a team and you fall as a team. They fell as a team because not one of them really, Selzy maybe, but none of the others could say, they'll all go, well, that was poor. I do think that maybe I like, you know, 2 defeats. There's nothing like a couple of defeats to teach you what your issues are and get them addressed on the training ground this week. And there's nothing like it for focusing the mind. Nuno's team talk against Ipswich next Saturday afternoon will be easy. 2 defeats, 6 goals allowed in. What are you going to do about it? Arteta's team talk was probably, you know, in sync with that. Arteta's team talk was 2 points from the last 4 games. What are you going to do about it? He probably effed and blinded at them at Arsenal, and they had a rocket up their backsides before that game. He was saying, "Oh, you know, it's good to get them back. We've had a couple of days working on the training ground." What that meant, he got the Arsenal lads in that team room and said, "You've not been good enough." In the title race, lose to Nottingham Forest, you can forget that. And Arsenal would kind of suitably, wow, we don't want this to happen. And I think what will happen is there'll be a similar scenario in our team room next week, where Nuno says, "You've shipped 6 goals. Where were you to Arsenal? Where were you second half against Newcastle?" Do you think I'm going to put up with that? And do you think more importantly, the thousands of amazing supporters who shell out their money, time, and invest and emotion are going to put up with that? No. Get it sorted, and let's get Ipswich beaten. Let's make a statement, because Ipswich are the best of the 3 that have come up, and let's beat them. Yesterday was must-win for Arsenal. Forest kind of sauntered into the Emirates thinking, well, you know, life's not bad. We're way ahead of where we are, and we are. We're still 7th. I can't get my head around it. I thought we'd be in the bottom 4 or 5 for most of this season. That's what I thought, because I'm not getting ahead of myself like certain other people do. But so it's not bad, but it changes. Next Saturday now is a must-win for Nottingham Forest. It becomes a cup tie. And it's going to be in our backyard. And if Ipswich are going to prove that they're as good as, you know, the eye test of Ipswich is pretty decent. And McKenna is a very clever fella, calm and thoughtful and intelligent, right? But it's got to be us stamping ourselves on that game next week, because yesterday, really, our lads had an afternoon off, which again is not good. A lot of people went down there yesterday in the rain and the horrible conditions, Storm Bert. There was no Storm Nottingham Forest when we got there. Yeah. So if I'm the manager of Nottingham Forest this week, I'm going to be effing and blinding a bit and saying that wasn't good enough. Give these amazing people in the stands what they deserve, because that wasn't good enough. Okay, the level of the opposition was high. And I think I sometimes think it's easier to play a team that have just won than it is to play a team going to the Etihad now. I think it's got even harder for us. If City had been cakewalking everybody, it wouldn't be so bad. If I was Ipswich, there's more chance of Ipswich ambushing us if we've been on a good run of form. If we just lost 2, Forest will be. I'd like to hope Forest will be. This is our house. On your way, Ipswich.
Yeah,
you know what
absolutely,
I mean?
Mate. Absolutely, and you're right as well about spending so much money and the fans going down yesterday and the trains and the weather and
Max, Sarah told you, she was there. We all got drenched, mate, and we stood there and we got nothing. In a way, it sounds like I'm slagging them. I'm not. I love our lads. I think they're a grand bunch of lads, But they did.
You just sometimes want more, yeah. You just sometimes want maybe a bit more fight and a bit more character. And I
wanted the Nottingham Forest that we've had for most of this season, which has been terrific and has raised our spirits. And 7th in the league is still fantastic for a team. I said at the start of the season, give me 17, that'll do me. I just want to be a Premier League team again next season. Yeah. Obviously, some people have run away with the idea we're going to win the league, we're going to win the Champions League, this, that, the other. Bless them for that view, but I'm not of that view. I still think Max will finish 11th or 12th. That's what I think.
We'll take that. I think it cracked me up on the way down. We got the train, and I was actually going to say though the train company will remain nameless, but they deserve to be named and shamed. West Midlands. West Midlands Railway made an announcement to say that there was only one working toilet on the train, and there's no water. There's like 400 people on this train. It gets really crowded when it comes into Milton Keynes or something like that, and there's literally one toilet. Honestly,
that sort of deprivation that focuses the mind, and I know about it because the first thing that was said to me when I got to the Emirates was your dad moaning about it. One toilet, Dave, can you believe it? And that wasn't even working. I thought, here we go, then.
Yeah, bless him. In fact, he's just commented actually now saying my highlight yesterday was that Cornish pasty on the train home. Yeah, fair enough, actually. I didn't join him, but yeah, I'm sure it was good Cornish pasty. I had a sausage roll in the Emirates, which cost £4.50. £4.50 for a sausage roll. Right, so let's summarise, shall we? In fact, before we do, wanted to touch quickly on James Ward-Prowse, Sarah. Bit of a poor game from him yesterday, and some fans seem to be not turning on him. That's not the probably the right phrase to use, but they're questioning what he maybe brings to Forest at the moment. And I did think he had a pretty poor game yesterday.
I hardly noticed him apart from when he took the free kick or the corner. I don't know. I don't know. I can't say because I agree. I don't know. But I'm not going to get on his back. He's not played, has he? The last is it 2 or 3 games he's not played. He's not really featured at all. Didn't come on. So, but yeah, I didn't see I don't think he added much at all yesterday. I seem to get the real difficult ones because I hadn't really noticed him at all. So I can't even say what.
Yeah, I agree. It's hard. Yeah, no, I agree. It's hard to talk.
Who I did notice was who was taking their free kicks at their corners, and I turned to Mick and went, "That was a brilliant corner, wasn't it?" I can't say that from our guys because I thought it was just a real damp squid yesterday. So I'm really struggling with the whole game.
I completely agree.
Yeah, so I don't know what you thought about Ward-Prowse, but
I just thought I think he's got to do more. Honestly, it's nice when Dave goes to the toilet or wherever he's gone. We get a minute to talk. But honestly, yeah, I think more. I think James Ward-Prowse has to do more because he looks really happy. There's players like Morgan that obviously are going to be the number one starters. But if Ward-Prowse wants to extend his loan at the end of or make it permanent come the end of the season, he's got to do more and he's got to show more. And I think that.
Yeah, I agree. And when he played against us last season for West Ham, or whenever we've played against him, every time he's on the ball with a free kick or a corner, your heart's in your mouth because you're thinking he's going to score, he's going to put a brilliant ball in. But I've not seen it from him. So I don't know. I mean, last time he played it was Chelsea, wasn't it? When he got sent off. He didn't have a great game that day, did he either? But he did what he had to do. Because he'd made a mistake, and then he came back yesterday, and like you say, he had a point to prove, and he didn't prove it for me. So yeah, I'm struggling to find what he brought yesterday because he didn't bring up corners or free kicks for me, which is what I was expecting.
Yeah, I think definitely improvement needed. I think the majority of the Forest fan base will share that. David, bring the Australian guy back. We didn't lose when he was around. Midfield injuries catching up with us now. Hard to win without Morgan Gibbs-White and Elliot. Yeah, we'll get you on soon, Dave. And we might win, mate. You never know. It might be that curse, and it might change. Dave, UK Dave, just to kind of summarise and finalise. Do you think it is a bit more of a reality check again? And I know you've mentioned it a bit with some fans getting ahead of themselves, and I know we were loving it. I can remember we did one a few weeks ago. I think it was after West Ham. We were talking how nice it is to win, and we were on about what could be next, and is a European place actually likely for Forest? But football is funny because we are kind of brought back down to reality, and we've got some really tough games coming up. And I always think Christmas is it's a period that it can define a manager, it can define a season, and it can really change almost the direction of the season and the course of where maybe the squad and the club are going, because there's some tough games in that Christmas period. Just off the top of my head, we've got Ipswich, City, United, Brentford's thrown in there, Tottenham on Boxing Day, Everton. And that's just before New Year, and they are tricky fixtures, Dave. So it's almost what Forest now have to do to not almost go back to talking about getting into Europe, but it's what we've got to do to almost end this little blip of bad form in a way.
Yeah, I mean, it's Ipswich, it's Manchester City, it's Manchester United, it's Aston Villa at home, Brentford away, Tottenham at home, Everton away, and then we're into Wolves away. Look how they played yesterday. I think Matthias Cunha, if ever he became available, I would break the bank to get that guy. He's fantastic. And then we're into Liverpool at home, and Southampton are coming on a Sunday afternoon. They've put the wind up Liverpool this afternoon. The essential truth of this division is every single game is incredibly difficult. And it's a short-sighted view to just sort of grade them, and that one's difficult and that was... No, treat them all the same. Brian Clough did. Brian Clough always said, always expect the unexpected in football. So like when you least expect Forest to go on a mini poor run of 2 defeats, it happens, and that's life. I think, it was interesting. I was listening to Sarah about James Ward-Prowse, and I agree with all of it. To me, at the moment, James is let's be honest, he's an excellent footballer. He's been an excellent footballer. His body of work suggests that. He's just not playing very well at the moment. Or he's another one who can't quite grip on.
Yeah, it's maybe not fitting into Forest style, Dave.
Yeah, maybe, Max. I think that might be a point. I think he's the one at the moment of all of them that Nuno's having the most difficulty in slotting him in, getting the right. What I would say about James Ward-Prowse is the win at Anfield, which has become, it might almost start becoming a millstone around our necks. That's what is predicating people to expect more, and you could almost say to the lads before Ipswich, you lot have won at Anfield. They're the league leaders. You're the only team to beat them in Europe this year. Nuno's got a right to expect more. So I think that is a stick you can beat the boys beat the lads with. But that day at Anfield, I thought James Ward-Prowse was absolutely outstanding in a very, very quiet way. He was superb that day. In that period in that game, which was crucial, where we just had to stay in the game after that initial burst of Liverpool, James Ward-Prowse was instrumental in us winning that game. So, before everybody starts rushing to sort of sever his head and pop it on a spike on Tower Gate or whatever, remember that this lad has good days as well. It's human beings. They're not machines. They're not robots. They've all got their sort of, idiosyncrasies. So, but James at the moment is the one I was kind of, when he signed, I hope he won't ever get to that stage, I'm sure. I remember when we signed Harry Arter. Well, that's a good signing. And look how that turned out. It was probably one of the worst signings we've ever made. Now, I'm not saying James is in the Harry Arter class. I wouldn't sort of besmirch the lad and taint him with such a thing. But at the moment, I just want more from James. I'd almost like to go say to James Ward-Prowse, "What's going on, mate? Do you not feel he fit in?" He almost needs to sit down with somebody to have a chat with it. You know, he's an intelligent guy. You know, he's been a top Premier League footballer for a while. He's the one at the moment who I just wish would fit in, but isn't quite doing it. The others, I don't have so much of an issue with the others. Maybe it's because he's alone. I don't know. But he's the one. I mean, you know, the free kicks and stuff. A few weeks ago, we were all saying, you know, we get him free kicks when he wasn't there, and say, oh, if only we had James Ward-Prowse. But he's the disappointment to me at the moment in our squad, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Sarah, finish us off with some positivity. You're off to Waitrose, or are you going to enjoy your Waitrose wine tonight?
I've had my tea cooked for me because
wow,
podcast to come on. So Mick's cooked the tea. So
looks like Dave's going to put something in the oven as well.
Yeah, it does. We'll have a glass of wine, and I'm not going to get too disappointed about yesterday. I think we could read a lot into it, but I'm going to be positive for Saturday and hope that the City ground come with the atmosphere, because that will be more disappointing to me if we can't cheer them on Saturday than what happened yesterday, because that's the most important thing. Is I'm dead proud to be a Forest fan, and I love it at the City ground. I can't wait. But I really feel horrible when we don't all, you know, get up for the game, and it's quiet. You can hear, and it just feels awful, and it's like I feel like I've let them down. Probably how they're feeling today about yesterday, because they probably feel like they've let us down a bit. I feel like we let them down when we can't get behind them. So that's what I'm hoping for, and that's what I'm looking forward to on Saturday.
Good. That finishes us very nicely. Dave? Oh, some new tea?
Waitrose lemon melts. I can heartily recommend them. Comfort food when your team has just lost 2 on the bounce and conceded 6 goals. Lemon melt.
Have you got a sponsorship here, Max?
I'm looking.
No, I wish we did.
Positivity. Nottingham Forest are 7th in the Premier League.
And we're only 3 points behind Arsenal. I think we need. I once read said, "Well, we're only 3 points behind them." Mick rolls his eyes at me, and I'm like, "Well, you know, they're probably worried about us."
Max Kit Scott said last night on his Instagram feed, I read it, we're having an excellent season, and we are. 7th in the Premier League. I thought, I never imagined we'd be anywhere like that. So that is the context. Nottingham Forest are overachieving, and it's not time. If we lose 10 on the bounce and we lose to the likes of Southampton, Leicester, Ipswich, you name it down the line, then maybe. But at the moment, it's not time for chucking babies and bathwater out. We'll be all right.
Oh, Dave, you and your expressions, mate. Honestly, should be the replacement for Gary Lineker with all of his puns at the end. Right. That finishes us nicely. And as always, you know, if Waitrose want to come and sponsor us, you know where we are. We'll happily take any brand deals we can get at the minute. So Waitrose, if you're listening, then we'd love to showcase.
Garibaldi Red Podcast in association with Waitrose.
Can you imagine?
Waitrose and partners. Yeah, don't forget that one. John Lewis. We can have them all, Dave. Yeah, come on.
Yeah,
better than Tesco and Aldi and all of them Lidl.
We could have the team pharmacy across the road, Max, if you want.
Good job we're not. Good job we're not on the BBC and we're like brand requirements, or like other brands are available, just to put it out there. Right, that does us nicely as always. Thanks for listening, Sarah, Dave. Thanks for joining us. Have a great evening with your Waitrose products. I'm gonna go and enjoy me Aldi mints. I'm gonna make a spag bol or something. So have a great evening. Let us know what you're having for tea in the comments. We shall see you towards the end of this week as well. Next week for our Ipswich. This Waitrose comment's throwing me off for our Ipswich preview.
I think it was the lemon melts, really.
Yeah, it was the lemon melts that stick me out.
We're having a lemon meltdown.
Yeah, that'll be Saturday if we don't win.
Yes, it will. Right, we'll see you then. Give us a like, share, and subscribe. As always, follow us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Come on, you Reds.